Hello and welcome to Immerseus 10-man normal mode. This is on live, so it should be completely up to date. This fight is really fun and a great start to the raid. That said, let's dive right in. For this fight you will need 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, and 5 to 6 DPS. Our healer disconnected, so we managed to 2 heal through it, but ideally you will want 3 healers and 5 DPS. The room is separated visually by lines of water, creating what looks like platforms. This is purely visual and has nothing to do with the fight, and you can cross the lines of water with no problems. This is a 2-phase fight, so first we'll go through phase 1, which is the phase you start in, and the boss has a power bar called Corruption, which starts out high. Each time you bring his health to 0, phase 2 will start, where you will have to deal with adds to bring down his corruption. Once the boss's corruption reaches 0, you win and you can go grab your shinies. The boss has several abilities. Char Bolt, which deals a bit of damage to each individual in the raid, as well as anyone within 5 yards of them, and spawns a puddle of muck underneath them. Make sure to keep moving out of the muck, as it really, really hurts. You will also want to stay spread out 5 yards apart from one another to avoid taking unnecessary damage. Every so often the boss will use Swirl, where he will shoot out a jet of water in front of him and slowly rotate clockwise. This ability is much like the water boss in the Temple of the Jade Serpent dungeon. If it hits you, it will deal a decent amount of damage and knock you into the air. While he is channeling this, there will also be jets of water shooting out of the ground, and slowly moving around the room touching one of these jets will send you into the air. Swirl doesn't really do insane damage, so it's not a train smash if you do get hit. Try to avoid it as best as you can, but if you can't avoid it, then use a defensive cooldown before you get hit. Once Swirl finishes, all the muck on the floor will be gone. The boss also has a frontal cone attack that he will use on the tank, called Corrosive Blast. This applies a stacking debuff, and tanks will need to swap the boss for this. We found that we could swap on 1 stack. The middle area is protected by Seeping Char, which basically means you can't walk through it. If you try, you will get knocked back and hurt, so just run around the center area. Melee should have no problem attacking him though, as his hitbox is massive. Your raid will want to spread out around the room. Just make sure that everyone is in range of a healer and spread out 5 yards apart. Nobody but the tank currently tanking the boss should stand in front of the boss, and the other tank should be somewhere to the side ready to move into position and take the boss after Corrosive Blast. Swirl will mean that your group will constantly be moving, so people will need to adjust their positioning after each swirl. Being spread out around the room will also make phase 2 much, much easier. Given that we were 2 healing, however, we only took up about half the room, so that everyone was always in range of healers, and it worked out fine. Once you kill the boss, phase 2 will start, and a whole bunch of little globule adds will spawn. There are 2 types of adds, Char Puddles and Contaminated Puddles. Char Puddles are attackable, and Contaminated Puddles are healable. The idea here is to nuke down all the attackable adds, and to heal to full all the healable adds. Make sure to stand near the puddles when they are killed or healed in order to get a buff. Standing next to one that is killed grants a DPS buff, and standing next to one that is healed restores a whole bunch of mana and grants a healing buff. The attackable adds can be slowed, stunned, knocked back, death gripped, and have very little health, so provided your group is spread out, you should be able to nuke them all down with relative ease. If you miss a couple, it isn't too much of an issue. The healable adds get slower the more they are healed, so healers need to stand near them and just spam heals into them. Remember, when they are healed to full, they give you mana and a healing buff, so just keep healing as many as you can and make sure to stand within 12 yards of them as a healer and 10 yards of them as a DPS. All adds will move toward the center of the room, so try to prevent them from getting there until they are dead or healed to full. If a healable or attackable add makes it to the center without getting killed or healed, your raid will take damage, but if the healable add has been healed to full, the damage will be a lot lower. The more adds you heal or kill, the easier this phase will be to heal through, and the shorter the fight will be. The damage can get really intense if a lot of adds get through, so make sure to use a defensive cooldown if that happens. Each add you kill or heal to full will remove 1 point of corruption from the boss. The lower his corruption, the lower his health will get, which means You will get into the second phase faster and faster as the fight goes on. The higher his corruption, the more attackable adds you will get, and the lower his corruption, the more healable adds you will get. So healers will need to focus towards the end of the fight, and DPS should focus at the start of the fight. I recommend using Bloodlust at the start of the fight, seeing as no part of the fight really needs it, so may as well use it at the start with potions, trinkets, and cooldowns. So basically, don't stand in front of the boss unless you're tanking him. Tanks should swap at 1 stack of the debuff, don't stand in muck, avoid the swirl and jets of water, and stay 5 yards apart in phase 1. Kill and heal adds in phase 2, and that's it for Immerseus 10-man normal! I hope you enjoyed this guide and found it helpful, and if you did, then please click that like button and post a comment, as it really helps me out, and of course, subscribe for more videos. Cheerio.